Do animals have intelligence, and do they practice religion? That's the topic we're going to get into today. In order to answer these questions, we need to remove ourselves from the obsession of language. What language does is it creates definitions, and these defining principles qualify and disqualify aspects of the observable. Language persistently self-reinforces its own conclusions. It's why I don't care for philosophy, linguists, or etymology experts. The conclusion it reaches is that human language is what gives meaning to everything in existence, to the universe. But life and the universe isn't predicated on our defining of it. So when we ask the question, do animals, and every organism for that matter, have intelligence or practice religion, we have to define religion and intelligence. We do this in a way that disqualifies animals and every other organism from having them, and at the same time elevate humans into being the sole proprietor of such concepts of sentience, consciousness, intelligence, and religion. They'll say tool use is a mark of intelligence. Well, everything uses tools, because a tool can also just be your own body. But even so, other animals use different objects as tools. Using tools doesn't work as a mark of intelligence, so then they move the goalposts and say, you need to be able to plan ahead, think of the future and other dimensions of time. Of course, every organism does this. They remember the past, they store food for the future, they build shelters. Once again, the definitions change, and then they say you need to have certain regions of the brain to be connected or developed in certain ways, which usually just equates to the way in which the human brain works. But other animals have even larger regions of those brains developed. That doesn't make them any more intelligent in the same way that we aren't more intelligent than other animals that have smaller brains, or even organisms that don't have brains, like fungus or bacteria or plants. Every organism has its own version of synesthesia, the sense of being that arises from bodily functions. This is what consciousness is. It's simply the sense of being that arises from your processing inputs and outputs. Every organism has its own experience of being, which means that there's different degrees of intelligence. In the same way that some humans are good at certain tasks and other humans are good at different tasks. That doesn't make one person more or less intelligent than the other. So the brain doesn't work as a definition, you have to change it. So they try abstract thinking. You need to be able to produce things which aren't immediate for survival. You need to be able to make things, to create art. Art is simply a form of expression. A painter could paint a landscape or a peacock, and that is considered art, but the landscape or the peacock itself isn't. Yet the painter wouldn't have painted the peacock if he didn't believe it was art. And still no credit is given to the peacock for its expression of art in its own form, but the painter is. But everything is an art form, everything is self-expression. The two common explanations are either there's some kind of creator, spirit, or deity or agent who made everything the way it is, or that it was random, chaos, and mutation. Both of those explanations are generally accepted. What's not considered is that each organism, each individual, is its own artist of self-expression. The peacock is its own artist. It tries to have the most vibrant and beautiful feathers. The butterfly's wings don't randomly look like an owl because of chance. It's because the butterfly expressed itself. It shaped itself into that. And the same is true for every beetle, every tiger, every bird, every fish, even every human. Every organism is a being, is an individual who is expressing themselves through their body as an art form. You shape yourself based off of who you are and how you think and what you do and your experience and engagement with your sense of being, your synesthesia. None of those worked as definitions, so now the qualifying factor is you need to contemplate. You need to have philosophy, language, and religion. If we take a step back from religion and language and look at humans as we would any other life form on the planet, there wouldn't be any notable differences between human life and any other type of life, because they all practice religion, which is the experience of being, the energy of synesthesia. You don't experience life in your brain, you experience it in a third space, in a consciousness that is a byproduct of bodily functions and brain activity, but not itself any of those things. Every individual organism exists in this way, whether there's a brain or not. Everything receives energy, and it projects that energy into a conscious third space. Because of this, everything practices religion, which is to take energy, to input it into your body, and the output, which is expressed as your sense of being, is religion. Religion is intrinsic to being, and the energy that is converted into conscious or synesthetic activity originates from the sun. The sun is the source of religion because it is the source of life. Every organism has its own way of interacting and converting with the energy that comes from the sun. Some organisms do so directly, such as plants, and other organisms that live deep underwater or underground do so by converting that energy from other sources that ultimately came from the sun. The way that this energy is converted into the synesthetic sense of being is through a combination of that energy along with movements of swaying, shaking, trembling, or dancing. Everything with energy has a sense of being and therefore a religion. How you engage with that will determine the sort of religion that you have. In humans, of course, there's all different kinds of religions, but they all center around the conversion of energy into this conscious activity. Whether this religion is equated to a higher power or some kind of universal aspect is a personal preference. That simply gets into beliefs and how you define things with language, but doesn't change the inherent quality of religion. Trees do this as they sway in the wind and receive light. Elephants do this by staring into the sun and they sway back and forth. Bacteria vibrate with the energy that they receive. Humans will also stand in front of light and sway or dance in some way. Concerts, festivals, churches, temples, TV, being in caves, your iPhone. It also doesn't mean that every single organism that is classified in a species practices religion in the exact same way. A different tribe of ants or elephants may have a religion that is separate from another tribe or species of ant or elephant. Life isn't mechanistic or predetermined. It's individualistic and subjective and is a self-expression as an art form. You may not agree or believe me on any of this, but most people haven't looked into the sun long enough to see it tremble, shake, move, and dance across the sky and realize that the sun is also alive. It's hard to dispute me if you haven't done that. Intelligence, religion, being, these things aren't solvable in a lab. You can't find an equation that proves or disproves them. They don't exist in language or your ideas or beliefs about them. They are the inexplicable, and it's the experience of that which all of life aggregates around. When you see the sun dance and realize it's alive, all the inanity of language and belief systems and definitions will fall apart. People will spend their whole lives trying to produce great works to accumulate wealth and fame and build everlasting monuments of their memory and immortality. But then you die, and what good is it then? Humans in this society are trying to grasp and capture and imprison the unaccountable and the ineffable. You can either try to define and petrify it, or you can experience the ebb and swaying of life in motion. It's like taking a picture of something rather than just experiencing it and then going on to tell the story of it in the way that you experienced it. Thanks for watching.